I don't know whether he requested a trade or demanded one, frankly. But look, this needs to be a two-way street. Teams provide enormous security and guarantees to players, and the expectation is in return that they'll meet their end of the bargain. I'm realistic that there's always conversations that are going to go on behind closed doors between players and their representatives on teams, but we don't like to see players requesting trades, and we don't like to see it playing out the way it is.
Well, there's a lot of conversations going on behind closed doors, especially with this situation. Now, Courtney, what leverage does KD have here to force a trade?
Realistically, not a lot. And I know that this is a conversation that centers around player empowerment and the fact that this is a player-controlled league. And one thing that Adam Silver talked about in that address yesterday was sitting down the NBA and the NBAPA to talk about the sanctity of contracts and, desire for stability, not just for the player who may be requesting out of his current contract, but how that affects his teammates as well. Like, here's the thing with Kevin Durant. He is a part of the 1%ers in the NBA where he can do this, and there's going to be teams that listen and try to get in to acquire his services no matter what it takes. I mean, very clearly right now, no one's going after the asking price that the Brooklyn Nets have put out there. This is what, are we on day 14, day 13,
yeah.
Something like that?
It's been 2 weeks almost.
He's still with the Brooklyn Nets. There's 4 years remaining on his contract, nearly $200 million. The asking price has to be absurd, and what we've heard, some of the rumors about, the Brooklyn Nets turning down some offers that they've gotten. Unless they are able to get exactly what they want in return for offloading a player who has 4 years of a commitment left to this team, he's going to be a Brooklyn Net this season. Now, you have to ask yourselves, is he planning to play for them this season if he ends up having to stay in Brooklyn? I think that's an entirely different conversation. But I just think that maybe some of this is a little overblown from Adam Silver, too. This is not going to create a domino effect with players all of a sudden just asking out of their deals. Someone like Royce O'Neal cannot just be trade me, after getting traded, and for a number of different reasons on that front. But I just feel like the Kevin Durant, he's kind of almost in his own silo here with how he requested this and his own leverage as a player. Obviously, he's, a generational talent. Nobody touches him on that level, but again, the organization, you can test your leverage as a player and do this, but they still, hold your rights in your contract, and you're going to be playing for them if they can't move you.
Yeah, the leverage, in my view, is in Kevin Durant's favor, because when it comes to negotiation leverage, I think it speaks to what your alternative is. And for Kevin Durant, his alternative is to still be Kevin Durant and to be crazy rich and stay at home and do whatever he wants and tweet and troll people and say funny things on Twitter. That's a pretty good alternative. The alternative for the Nets is to lose Kevin Durant, to not have him on the court, and to also not be able to get the assets in return. So it seems like if he is serious about demanding a trade or requesting a trade, if it gets down to the point where he won't step foot on the floor, it's not really going to impact his life. He's not in his first or second year. He's made probably over $100 million now, many times over. He's going to be fine. So I think he has the leverage if he's willing to stick it out and actually not show up or not play or whatever it is that he chooses to do. I think the Nets stand to lose a lot more than Kevin Durant does. But as it pertains to Adam Silver generally talking about the security that they provide for the players should ensure that the players stay in the cities where they signed a contract. The problem I have with that is their salaries are artificially repressed or depressed. They have a max contract and they have kind of a soft salary cap that forces players like Kevin Durant to play under their market value. When you force them to play under the market value, they're going to take the rest of that value in power. And that's what it boils down to. If you have a problem with the way that the system is working out, you have a problem with players like Kevin Durant forcing their way out, I promise you, if you remove the salary cap, you'll have a lot more leverage over those players because you will be paying them a lot more money and closer to their value. If you don't want to do that, be quiet. Simple as that to me.
Look, I don't know what type of leverage he has unless he is ready to just go full all out. If he's ready to what Dominic is saying, in the end, yes, he has a contract that sits close to $200 million over the next 4 years. But if he requested a trade, and essentially they've granted him that request, doesn't mean that they told him, you go find trade partner. They're out there talking to people. Don't get it twisted. That's why the reports are out there about turning down the particular offers or trying to overblown the conversation to a whole nother level for Kevin Durant to where somebody would say, that's too much, we don't want to do it right now. If he decides, and I know a lot of people think because he's a basketball player and he likes to play basketball and that's all he's ever done, he'll never sit tight, that he'll eventually cave in and come in. But if he decides that that's not what he wants to do and he sits tight and he tells them, I'm not playing for you, I'm completely done with this organization, they have no other choice but to trade him. When you look at some of the trades that go on in professional sports in particular, you talk about one of his teammates in Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons was done with the Philadelphia 76ers. No matter how they got to that point, he was done with them. James Harden, the Houston Rockets, you saw what that was all about. He came in basically in a fat man suit and basically said, I'm not going to play. This is what I'm going to look like. Then he goes to the Brooklyn Nets and takes the fat man suit off, and he looks like James Harden, the all-star. You go to AD in the New Orleans Pelicans when he made the decision that I don't want to be here. That's all, folks. So he can get out of there if he chooses to, if he wants that backlash that's going to come with it. I don't know, Kevin, so I wouldn't know.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.